I won't lie, when I saw a trailer for this and it goes Force of Nature, The Dry 2, I was like, why not call it The Dry 2 Force of Nature? I don't know. Is it because Australia, Southern Hemisphere, so they go reversed? Maybe? Maybe? Chase Lee Hockey here with the Blue Futon reviewing Force of Nature, The Dry 2. What's it about? Pretty simple premise. This takes on The Dry, or was it called, it's a book series by Jane Harper that has this detective in Australia, and I'm guessing the books go through different cases he goes through. And this one is a new case about these 5 female co-workers go through the forest, kind of do a retreat. One doesn't come back. Where is this girl? Is she dead? Is she alive? What secrets are they holding? So did I like this show? I really liked it. I am a sucker for murder / mystery / thrillers. Kind of like, this is my sucker. This, revenge, easy. And it's one of the ones where you gotta watch, like, kind of Knives Out, like, who done it. Is it a simple Knives Out, kind of like who done it? Yeah. You kind of know who the people aren't going to be just because the high profile-ness of it. But I know for a fact who it was. Unlike Knives Out 2, if you watch it, you know in the first 10 minutes it's going to be Edward Norton. Simple, just because you know who the director is too, who's a little snotty little bitch. But I mean, yes, Rian Johnson, I do not like him as director, only with Brink. But anyway, or Brick. And Looper is also good too when I think about it. Anyway, we're talking about The Dry 2. So the first Dry was one of my top 10 movies of when it came out in 2019 or 2020 or 2021. I can't, the blur of the COVIDs. Fantastic movie. It was personal. It was gritty. It was oh shit moments. Here, it's not as gritty, not that much oh shit moments, and it's not as personal. So is this better as the first one? Absolutely not, but I still had a fun time with this. So let's talk about the positives. Eric Bana, completely fantastic. He owns this role. He does a great job. And I'm pretty sure the same director comes back, Robert Connolly. He does a good job as well. This is no soundstage movie. And you know me, if I'm a sucker for no sound stages, this is out in the woods, out in these cabins. It's very interesting. I think the story is good. We'll get to why I think it's a little bit on the weak part. But I do like the atmosphere, the tone, and the pros and cons of what police do to some of these people that are kind of, I want to say, informants, where do they really care about the people, or do they only care about getting that one person on top, and they don't care who dies in the making? And they do have that dilemma in this movie that's pretty good. But then, let's kind of dive deep into, like, the weakness of the story, because I think that's the most to talk about in this one when comparing it to the first one and second one. So when you talk about the first one, it's very personal. He's going to the Australian town that he hasn't been when he was a kid. So you get that really personal connection with everyone in this town. Here they try to do it with a backstory with his mother and going through the same woods. And at the same time, there's a serial killer-esque story that goes with it and how it intertwines with what's going on today, because they're thinking, oh shit, this woman is missing in the same region, so why don't we kind of do 2 things at once? Try to find this lady, which it's not really trying to find this lady because these local policemen also want to find this gravesite of these families that this serial killer has been going on since the 80s or 70s. So I wish they dug deeper into that because it might have been more fun. But I understand why they want to focus on this foreground story. So when I talk about that, it really is told into 3 points of views. The back in the 1970s, if you want to put that, or 1980s, what the women went through, as well as what Eric Bana is doing in between, like interviewing the women and what he is actually getting from these characters. So going into that, like I said, compared to the first one, personability isn't as much as there. Yeah, you kind of get an interesting feel of why he likes these woods, but the main question you might ask is, what does this connect to what is happening in today's day and age? And it really doesn't. If they would have shown a little bit more of the serial killer-esque and how it maybe connects a little bit more, I would have been a little bit more intrigued. Also, there are a couple things in this story which I don't know how it connects. Maybe I missed it. A ridge. That's what I'm going to say. It's a major ridge where one of the main female characters, she's from Fringe, if you didn't notice, she makes this group go to this ridge. And it really doesn't explain why. Maybe for self-service, maybe for something else, but I wish it didn't. It told a little bit more. Also, like I said, the predictability, you kind of know who it's not going to be just because of who the characters are and their backstories. It's just very simplistic of like, yeah, that person's on the well, did some shit in the past and they're getting better. And for a fact they are not going to do what they are going to do because they want to make themselves a better life. So, okay, not the killer, not the killer, not the killer. Just makes simple, perfect sense. And also I do kind of like I said before, the dilemma of what police are willing to do to get the top, pyramid scheme person, and they don't care who gets hurt at the bottom. And I've seen that plenty of times before where it's like, oh, we're going to give you immunity, but then do they really get immunity? Because they really want the person at the top. But what's really shitty is the person at the top has the lawyers, have the cash, and they don't really get away with it, but all the people down below really go to jail for what they're supposed to do. You see in the movies like Law Abiding Citizen, and, oh yeah, Weinstein. The New York, they totally let it go. So it's like, that's kind of fucked up shit. But overall, Force of Nature, Dry 2, it's a good story. Eric Bana kills it in this movie. I love the non-soundstage. I love the feel of the movie, the technical craft of it being out in the open. But when comparing it to the original, the stakes aren't that much. The personability isn't there that much. And the whodunit, it kind of is simplistic. So Force of Nature, Dry 2 will receive a 3.5 out of 5 Futons, which equals that 70%. So let's see what the critics and user scores gave this one. So have critics a 63% with 40 of them, no audience score. Critic consensus though, generally absorbing from moment to moment despite uneven pacing and a rather convoluted mystery. Force of Nature, the Dry 2 should satisfy fans of the first installment while setting up a third. Absolutely. I didn't mind the pacing. Convoluted mystery. To me, it wasn't convoluted. It was just kind of simplistic of who done it. 6370. Chase Leoc here with the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. All of things Futontopia. You Blue Futonians think watch a great day. I can watch today, tomorrow, a week from now, a month, or a year from now. Every single freaking one of you. Enjoy life. Don't go through the woods if you don't know how to read a compass.